1. The jungle doesn't greet you. It just absorbs you. Slowly. The trees close in behind you as you walk, and after a while, you stop looking back because there's nothing to see. Just more trees, more green, more depth. I came in with a pack on my back and a rough plan in my head. No permanent structure, no nails, no concrete. Nothing I had to carry in heavy and carry out guilty. Just what the forest already had. Wood, bamboo, vine, leaves. Everything I needed was already here, had been here long before I arrived, and would be here long after I left. The goal for today was simple. Get off the ground. Because the ground out here is not your friend. It's wet, even when it hasn't rained. It's cold in the night and warm in the wrong ways in the day. Animals move at ground level. Insects own the ground. Moisture lives in the ground and works its way into everything you put there. Up, even just 2 or 3 feet up, changes everything. I found my spot about 40 minutes in. 4 trees standing close together in a rough rectangle. Solid trunks, deep roots, spaced just far enough apart to work with. The ground between them slightly elevated from the surrounding area. Natural drainage going away from this spot, not toward it. I dropped my pack, looked up, looked around, and then I started. Before anything gets built, everything gets gathered. This is the part most people skip in their heads when they imagine building something. They picture the finished thing. They don't picture the hour before. Walking slow circles through the forest, testing branches, pulling on vines, tapping bamboo to hear if it's hollow or solid. But this hour is everything. What you gather determines what you can build, and what you can build determines how well you sleep tonight. I was looking for 4 things. First, long, straight hardwood branches, thick as my forearm. These would be the support beams, the bones of the whole structure. They needed to be as straight as possible and as heavy as possible. Green wood is heavier than dry, but it's also stronger and less likely to crack under weight. Second, bamboo. Long sections as thick as I could find. Bamboo for the platform floor. Bamboo splits along its length into flat pieces that can be laid side by side to make a surface. It's light, it's strong, and it's everywhere out here. Third, vine. The long, flexible kind. Not the brittle stuff. The kind that bends without breaking and holds a knot without slipping. Out here it's your rope, your fastener, your everything. Fourth, leaves. The big flat ones. For the roof later. But I'd collect those last. I worked quietly. The jungle has a sound to it when nothing is disturbing it. Birds, wind in the upper canopy, the distant sound of water somewhere. I tried to work inside that sound rather than over it. An hour later, the pile beside my 4 trees was enough to start. Three, the posts go in first. Always. Everything else depends on them being right. If the posts are wrong, uneven, unstable, poorly placed, nothing you build on top of them will fix that. You'll spend the whole build compensating for a mistake you made in the first 10 minutes. So I took my time here. I dug 4 holes, 1 at each tree, just inside the base of the trunk, where the root system would give extra support. Not too deep, but below the loose surface layer into the firm earth underneath. The posts went in at a slight outward angle, not vertical, leaning out a few degrees. This gives the platform more stability. The legs resist spreading under weight rather than collapsing inward. I packed the earth back around each post tight, stamped it down with my heel. Then tested each one. Pushed hard, twisted, pulled. You want them to feel like they grew there. When all 4 were in, I crouched down and looked across them at eye level. Even height, good angles, solid. Then I lashed each post to the tree beside it, vine wrapped 6, 7 times around, pulled tight and knotted in a way that won't loosen when the wood dries and contracts. The tree and the post become one thing. The tree doesn't move, so now the post doesn't move. That's the logic. Simple. Old. It works. Four. The horizontal beams came next. These are what the floor will rest on. 2 long beams running the length of the platform, sitting in the notches I cut into the top of each post. I cut those notches carefully with a hand tool, angling them slightly so the beam would sit down into the post rather than just resting on top of it. That difference, sitting in versus resting on, matters more than you'd think when something is moving and shifting in wind and underweight. The beams settled into place with a satisfying fit. I lashed them at every connection point, wrapped the vine over and under and around, pulled it tight, finished it with a knot I could rely on. Then the cross beams. Shorter pieces running perpendicular, spaced about a hand width apart across the 2 main beams. These are what the bamboo floor panels would sit on. More lashing, more knots, more slow, deliberate work. The frame was taking shape now. I stood back and looked at it. This open wooden grid sitting up off the ground between the 4 trees. No floor yet, no roof, just structure. There's a stage in every build where the thing you're making starts to exist in a way it didn't before. Not finished, far from it, but real, physical, casting a shadow. This was that stage. I pressed on both main beams with my full weight and felt almost nothing give. Good. Five. Bamboo is one of the most useful things in any tropical forest. People don't always know this until they work with it. It's light, lighter than wood of the same size. It's strong in ways that surprise you. And it splits cleanly along its grain, which means you can take a round section and turn it into flat planks without complicated tools. I split each section down the middle first, then opened each half flat, cutting the internal nodes so the whole thing lay flush and even. The result was a wide, flat strip, curved slightly, still holding the memory of its round shape, but workable. I laid the strips across the crossbeams side by side, curved side down. That slight curve actually helps. It locks each strip against the next one, stops them from rolling or shifting under your weight. Strip by strip. The sound of bamboo on bamboo as each one settled into place. Quiet, hollow, clean. The floor grew from one end to the other. When the last strip was in, I stepped onto the platform, 2.5 feet off the ground. The whole structure moved slightly with my weight. Not alarming, just alive. Flexible. Bamboo moves, and that's part of its strength. It doesn't resist, it adjusts. I walked from one end to the other slowly, then sat down, looked out at the jungle from this new level. The same forest, but different from up here. Quieter somehow, more still. Six. Rain was coming. I could feel it. That particular heaviness in the air, the way the birds went quiet, the smell that arrives before the first drop. I worked faster now, but not rushed. Rushed work makes mistakes. Faster is just removing the pauses. 4 poles stood up from the corners of the platform, lashed to the main posts, leaning inward at the top to create a ridge. A long central beam ran across the top of them, the spine of the roof. Then the rafters, angled down from the spine to the edges of the platform on both sides. Steep angle, 45 degrees at least. Shallow roofs are a trap in heavy rain. The water doesn't move fast enough and finds ways in. Steep roofs shed everything. Then the leaves. Big, flat jungle leaves, the kind that grow wide and thick and overlap naturally. I layered them from the bottom up, each row overlapping the one below, the way roofing tiles work. Each leaf held in place by a thin strip of bamboo pressed across it and lashed to the rafters, row by row. The work was quiet now, methodical. Each leaf placed deliberately, smoothed down, secured. The rain arrived before I was finished. The first drops hit the leaves above me with a soft, even sound. That specific percussion of rain on wide leaves that is one of the most calming sounds I know. I kept working. Dry underneath, wet all around. By the time the last row was in, the rain was heavy and constant. And inside the shelter, nothing. Dry and still. Seven. I sat with my back against one of the trees as the rain came down. The platform was dry. The forest floor below was dark and wet and moving with water. Up here, nothing. Just the sound of it, all around, falling past me. I made a small fire in a clay pot I'd brought, contained, controlled, sitting at the edge of the platform. Just enough warmth, just enough light. The jungle at night sounds different from the jungle in the day. Fuller, deeper, more layered. Things move out there that stay still in daylight. But from up here, from this elevated, dry, secure place I had built with the forest's own materials, it felt peaceful, not in spite of the wildness, because of it. There is a particular kind of rest that only comes after real physical work. When your hands have done something all day, cut and lashed and lifted and fitted, your body knows it. And when you lie down, it doesn't argue. It just lets go. I lay back on the bamboo floor with the rain on the roof above me, closed my eyes, and I want to say something before we close this out. Building something with your hands, slowly, with natural materials, in a place where there is no one to help and no shortcut to take, changes how you think about what you're capable of. Every person watching this can do what I did today. Not perfectly the first time, not without frustration, but it can be done. The knowledge isn't complicated. The materials are everywhere. The only thing between you and a shelter like this is time and the willingness to try. That's always been the only thing. The rain kept falling. I was already asleep. See you in the next one.